Hello, my name is Tracy, and thank you for inviting me to speak to the Young Lawyers Division of the State Bar of Arizona. Today, I'll give a concise overview of the equitable remedies in tort litigation under Bar of Arizona. Today, I'll give a concise overview of equitable remedies in tort litigation under Arizona law. I'll cover the difference between legal and equitable remedies, a bit of history and foundations, examples of equitable remedies in tort cases, 2 Arizona cases applying equitable relief, a brief closing and summary. Legal versus equitable remedies, the difference. Legal remedies are those remedies available at law, most commonly monetary damages, where the injured party is awarded money to compensate for a wrong. Equitable remedies are non-monetary forms, relief grounded historically in courts of equity rather than law, where a simple money award is inadequate or unjust. They give courts flexibility to fashion relief tailored to fairness. Equitable relief is generally discretionary and subject to equitable doctrines. In torts, parties may seek equitable relief when damages alone would not fully address the harm. For example, when preventing harm or undoing a wrong is more appropriate than compensation. Key point, equitable remedies are supplementary, not substitutes to legal remedies. The plaintiff usually must show that money damages are inadequate or unique circumstances justify equity. History and foundations of equitable remedies. Historically, English courts of law and chancery were separate. Law courts could award only legal remedies, whereas chancery courts could order equitable relief, injunctions, specific performance, recession, etc. In U.S. practice, over time, the distinctions merged procedurally. Courts can now grant both kinds of relief, but the doctrinal distinctions in equitable constraints endure. Equity traditions emphasize fairness, balancing of harms, discretion, and flexible remedies when rigid legal rules fall short. In modern U.S. jurisprudence, equitable remedies are invoked particularly when injury is ongoing or when the defendant holds unique property or rights that money cannot adequately address. In tort law, equitable relief historically has been used in cases like nuisances, trespass, continuing harm, injunction against harmful conduct, etc. Examples of equitable remedies in tort actions. Here are common and equitable remedies that may arise in tort litigation under Arizona or generally when appropriate. Permanent injunction, a court order compelling a defendant to stop continuing wrongful conduct. Mandatory injunction, a court order requiring a defendant to take affirmative acts. Removal of nuisance structure, restoring land. Declaratory relief, which is equitable. A judicial declaration of rights or status, clarifying a harmful legal position. That's equitable estoppel. Constructive trust, imposing a trust over assets obtained by wrongdoing so the plaintiff may reclaim them. Equitable lien, a court-imposed lien on property as security for redressing a wrong. Replevin, return of property. In tortuous conversation, sometimes inequity may demand the return of specific property, not just value. Accounting, tracing relief. When the defendant holds funds or property traceable to wrongful conduct, may equity compel accounting or turnover of assets. In each case, the plaintiff must meet the equitable prerequisites: inadequacy of legal remedy, balance, hardships, clean hands, etc. 2 Arizona cases applying equitable remedies. Spur Industries, Inc. versus Dell E Web Development Company. In Spur Industries, a feedlot spur and a retirement development web conflicted. The operations of the feedlot produced odors and flies that interfered with the community. Webb sought an injunction to stop Spur's operations because it was a nuisance. The Arizona Supreme Court affirmed the injunction, treating it as equitable relief against a nuisance, even though Spur had operated earlier, coming to the nuisance. The court balanced equities and required Webb to indemnify Spur for losses from shutting down. This case in Arizona of using injunction in tort nuisance with a tailored remedy that accounts for fairness. Case 2, Smith versus Coronado Foothills Estates Homeowners Association. In Smith, the Homeowners Association sought a permanent injunctive order against a homeowner who was building in violation of deed restrictions, a quasi-tort-like dispute of wrongful building. The homeowner counterclaimed for damages for wrongful injunction. The wrongful injunction should not be strictly capped by the bond amount given under Rule 65, preliminary injunction bond. The court acknowledged that the equitable relief can result in liability beyond the bond in wrongful injunction cases. This decision demonstrates that courts in Arizona respect the equitable nature of injunctive relief and also allow redress when injunctions are wrongly granted. A more recent Arizona Court of Appeals decision where court considered the Injunction Limits Act and whether equitable relief could stay a judgment. The court affirmed that an injunction is an equitable remedy, so as to promote equity between the parties and upheld issuance of relief under qualifying facts. In summary, equitable remedies supplement legal relief and are particularly useful in tort litigation when money damages alone are insufficient to reach full justice. Arizona courts continue to use traditional equitable instruments like injunctions, constructive trusts, liens, and declarations, subject to equitable doctrines, clean hands, balance of hardship. The cases Spur Industries and Smith plus Jurju show how Arizona courts balance fairness and practicality. In preparing your cases, always analyze whether legal remedies are inadequate, whether equitable doctrine permit the relief, and tailor your remedy requests carefully. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.